listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again today. We have a special guest. We have the one and only Eric Metaxas. You know who he is. He is an amazing talk show host. He is a family of Salem, and man, he has an amazing project that we are going to be talking about today. Letter to the American Church. It is based off his best-selling book. It is now going to be a major movie video project that he's going to tell us about. First and foremost, Eric, I know you're super busy. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day today. How you doing, man?
Well, listen, it's a privilege to speak to you and to your audience. The message of Letter to the American Church really could not be more serious and urgent. And so I'm just trying to talk to anybody who will listen because I feel like, you know, we're living in some crazy times. I don't need to tell people we're living in crazy times. And the question is, what are we supposed to do about it? And that's what Letter to the American Church is about. What is God's message to his church about what our job is, what our role is right now? And it is urgent, as I imagine your listeners already know.
And like I said in the intro, this is based on your best-selling book. I mean, what prompted this project to go to another level, another opportunity for you to turn into a visual piece?
Well, Letter to the American Church, the book, which has sold very well, and I thank God that it struck a nerve, that the people are getting the message, that people are reading it and saying, you know what, I need to tell my pastor about this. I need to, people understand that this is not just some book I wrote, some ideas, that this is an urgent, really prophetic message, you know. And when I say that, I think that whenever God says anything, you know, we refer to it as prophetic. I'm not a prophet. But when I think about Dietrich Bonhoeffer in the 30s, he was trying to wake up the church, and he didn't think of himself as being prophetic. What I'm doing now is I'm basically taking Bonhoeffer's message, which I do think is prophetic, and saying this message applies to the American church today, not just to the German church of the 1930s under Hitler, but to the American church right now. And so I wrote the book. I spoke anywhere they would have me. I spoke at churches all over the country. And I spoke at a church in California. I'm actually in California today. And there were two women in the church who were Hollywood veterans. And they said, we need to make a film of this message that, you know, it's nice that it's a book, but we need to make a documentary film. And they approached me and my wife, and I said, you know what? It never even occurred to me. I'm trying to turn all my other books into streaming TV programs and movies or whatever. This book, it didn't even occur to me one time ever. But they said, we want to do this. And so they are, you know, as I say, they're Hollywood veterans. So they did a next level job. This is like not just some documentary. This is an amazing documentary. And it's the same title, Letter to the American Church. And people can find out more at the website, same title, lettertotheamericanchurch.com. But if you go to lettertotheamericanchurch.com, you can see how you can get involved. And one thing I'm telling people to do is they will do free screenings of the film at your church. In other words, we're hoping people will go and, you know, pay for it online and watch it themselves. But if you're going to some church, they will do free screenings at churches. So you got to go to lettertotheamericanchurch.com and sign up. But my question is, if your church is not interested in this message, why are you going to that church? Because the hour is late. It is not time. There's no time left to be going to a church that is not in this battle. We're in a battle. God called us to the battle. If God didn't call us to the battle, I wouldn't be saying we should be involved at all. But God called us to the battle. And if you're going to a church that's saying, like, you know, it's not our thing, we just want to do church, I would get out of that church quickly.
And with that point on your website, notice that there is a form that can be filled out for screening requests. If there are pastors out there listening to this right now, what can they do to start that process right away? And how does that work out when they submit that form?
Think about this. It is literally free. There's no strings attached. Okay. There's no, we just hope to make our money back from the film, but we're not going to make it back from free screenings. Why are we doing free screenings? Because our priority is to get the word out. It's to get the message out. And so anybody who goes to lettertotheamericanchurch.com, it will show you how to sign up for free screening for your church. That's a big deal when we made that decision. But I said, like, we've got to, put our money where our mouth is. It's about getting out God's message to his people. This is not about making some film. So people can see the film at Epoch TV, which is EPOCH, epochtv.com, February 8th. It will come out, and I hope a lot of people will go there and pay $5 or $10 or whatever it is. But any church can get a free screening. And when I say free, I mean free. It's about getting the message out to church-going Christians in this country. And it's all there at lettertotheamericanchurch.com. You can see it. You can do it. And again, I repeat myself that I want to say, if you're going to a church that's not interested in this, I want to know, why are you going to that church? Because God will hold us accountable, how we spend our time, what we do with our tithe money. And I really feel like many churches have bought this lie that I'm not supposed to be political. That's a lie from the pit of hell. There's nothing in the scripture that says you shouldn't be political. In fact, much good was done through politics. The civil rights movement in America came out of the churches and entered the political mainstream. The abolitionist movement came out of the churches to abolish the slave trade in Wilberforce's day, which I wrote a book about that called Amazing Grace. And then in our country to abolish slavery. It was all Bible-thumping, Bible-believing Christians that said slavery is evil. And it became a political movement. So this lie that you're not supposed to be involved politically, where do you get that biblically? I mean, that's simply not true. And by the way, we're not living in first century Rome. We are living in America, where people have died so we could have freedom, so we could use our voice politically. And so when people try to shut you down and say, oh, that's Christian nationalism, that is the devil speaking. That is not biblical to denounce political activism as Christian nationalism. That's a lie. We're supposed to take our biblical values into the public square and to advocate however we can. And often politics is one of the ways that God has allowed us to express our biblical views. And I'm telling you, atheist Marxist, critical race theory, critical theory, transgender, they're using politics to push their views out there. And we've got to use politics to get our views out there. People are depending on it, not just Christians. People all around this country are depending on Christians doing their job and speaking God's truth into the situation. And I really believe that so many churches have bought this lie, and it's time that they see it as a lie. And there's very little time to repent. But by God's grace, it's possible. But if you go to a church that's not interested in seeing the truth on this, I would get out of that church. And I say that obviously as emphatically as I can.
We've been talking to Eric Metaxas and about the amazing project, Letter to the American Church. You can go to the website, lettertotheamericanchurch.com. Let's talk about the cast, because the people part of this project as well visually is top notch. So kind of take us through the process of picking the people to be a part of this project.
Well, yeah. I mean, the book obviously is just me talking. So Letter to the American Church, my book is just me talking. But when they decided to make the documentary, they said there are all these people that are speaking specifically into these issues that I touch on in the book. So we have John Amanchukwu. I don't know if you know, he's amazing. John Amanchukwu, that's an African name. He's an American, but John Amanchukwu has been going to school board meetings and reading from these evil sexual books that are in public school libraries for kids to read. So he's reading at these school boards, and they're freaking out. Like, well, you can't say that here. You can't. And he's like, well, yes, this is in your children's school. Will you allow this to be in your children's school? Because you will not allow me to read from it here because it's so vile. So he is taking that on, and we interview him in the book. We have Charlie Kirk, who's an amazingly brave voice. I got to say, I'm just so proud of him. He's in the documentary. James Lindsay is in the documentary. Now, he is an expert on cultural Marxism, critical theory, and he talks about where this comes from and how it's infiltrated seminaries and churches. It's unbelievable. We got Victor Marx and his wife Eileen Marx. They are heroes. They risk their lives in combating child sex trafficking, and it goes on and on and on. Rob McCoy, who's the pastor of the church that I'm actually speaking at tonight, Godspeak in Thousand Oaks, California. They're doing a screening of the film. It's the premiere of the film tonight in Thousand Oaks, California. And it's called Godspeak. And Rob McCoy has been at the forefront. He's been one of those brave voices like Jack Hibbs, like Gary Hamrick. They're out there, pastors that have understood that it is a lie, that we're not supposed to be political, that we're not supposed to be controversial. God called us to be controversial and to put our faith into action. Bonhoeffer talks over and over about putting your faith into action. If you don't put your faith into action, then what faith do you have? Scripture is pretty clear. Faith without works is dead. And a lot of people aren't preaching that. They're like, no, just about faith, just about faith. Yeah, faith. If your faith is real, then you will see it in your works. But we don't talk about that because we think, oh, that's going to be works righteousness. I'm not saved by works. No, you're not saved by works. You're saved by faith. But if your faith is real, if it is real faith, saving faith, it's going to be lived out in works, in action. And that is the message. I wrote Letter to the American Church, the book, originally because I saw this problem in American evangelical churches, that somehow they had drifted away from this idea that our faith is supposed to be muscular, it's supposed to put some meat on the bone, not just have some theology, but it's supposed to live out my theology in every sphere, including getting political, including daring to say which candidate is going to better represent my worldview. Is that candidate perfect? I don't think so. But I better choose, because if I don't choose and I don't advocate for one, the other one will win, and those policies will be wicked, and I will be on the hook. God will blame me because I did nothing, because I allowed these evil people to push evil policies, and I did nothing. I said as a Christian, oh, that's not my job. Well, guess what? It is your job. That's what the scripture says.
We're talking to Eric Metaxas, and you go to the website Letter to the American Church and get ready to watch this film. You being a voice in the conservative world, talk to the audience the importance of the conservative voice, and especially times of now.
Well, it's just so interesting to me because even labeling it conservative, like what we're saying is either true or not. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm conservative. It's like saying, I'm a Jets fan, I'm a Giants fan, I'm a Cowboys fan. And that, no, it's either about truth or it's not. And so it's got nothing to do with like, I identify as a conservative because I'm raised as a conservative because it's either true or it's not. I mean, there are many conservatives that hold views that I don't hold. And so the question is, are the views biblical? So what ends up being conservative, I mean, today advocating for reality is like conservative. And I'm thinking, how preposterous. Everybody should be for reality. There's a man and a woman. God made us in his image, male and female. Suddenly, this is a conservative idea. Suddenly saying that hairy men should not be able to shower with my daughter is a conservative idea. I'm here to tell you, most of the world, by that standard, is conservative. Most of the world knows that's lunacy. And to allow that lunacy into our culture and for the churches to be silent about it, obviously, we have a duty to stand up. And maybe things haven't been this bad. And so we've said, well, I don't want to speak up. Well, now God has allowed things to get this bad. We've got fentanyl pouring across our southern border. Some of the most evil, vicious, bloodthirsty thugs, gangs, are bringing sex trafficking. I mean, think of child rape. Is that a moral issue or is that a political issue? If you do not get involved, God allows these things to happen to wake us up and to say, I'm going to pull my hand back and you're going to see what your inaction will bring about. Now you're starting to see it. Will you stand now? Will you stay? How bad does it have to get? In Bonhoeffer's day, he was trying to warn the church in time. They didn't hear what he had to say in time. By the time it got next level evil, it was game over. The churches had been silenced. They had been silenced. And that's what the secular left, the globalist left, the rhino right, they are trying to silence the voice of God by silencing the churches, by demonizing people who care about people. Oh, you're just a Christian nationalist. That's garbage. If anybody ever uses that term, just walk away. Do not dignify it with a response. That's just designed to shut you up. And God is calling his church to be the church. That's the point. The church is called to be the church, not to play church, not to have church, not to do church, to be the church. And if you're going to a church that is not being the church, that is not speaking out against this stuff, I would get out of there. I keep saying that because I think that the German Christians who went to those churches back then, if they would have known where it was leading, they would have run. They would have run. It's like in a building that lightning is going to strike that building. Get out. God is calling his church to be the church. And if you're going to a church that is ignoring this, that is not interested in this, for your own soul's sake, get out of there. You don't want to be a part of that.
For the listener who's listening to this right now, what advice will you give them to be more engaged and take more action to not just defend faith, but to spark communication with others?
Well, I mean, that's why we created the documentary and the website, because I want to make it easy for people. So, the one thing people can do that's easy, just go to lettertotheamericanchurch.com and you will see a list of things that you can do to get involved, because it is really, this is about the church waking up. This is not about my book or about a film, but the book and the film are tools that I believe people can use. And I really think if you show Letter to the American Church, the film, to anybody who has common sense, they're not already they haven't already bought into this crazy woke Marxist mentality. They're going to say, yeah, well, I get it. I get it. I mean, most normal people see the basics, that there's only men and women, that this sudden idea that just landed 5 minutes ago that, oh yeah, no. There's a lot of sexes, a lot of genders. Who came up with that? And what's the evidence for that? There's zero biological evidence for that. That's insanity. And I think Americans are waking up when they see the way they're going after Donald Trump. You could hate Trump, but when they come after you with bizarre lawsuits and they stack the jury, and they're doing this in cities where everybody that you can't get justice, most normal people say, you know what? Sorry, that's wrong. Something is going on here that is not right. I need to be a part of what is right, because, they could do that to somebody I don't like today. Tomorrow they could do it to somebody that I love. Tomorrow they could do it to me. What we're seeing in America right now is really God allowing us to see where this goes, that you lose justice. You lose blind justice in America. You lose being able to have a border and a nation. You lose being able to even know, are my elections secure? If you don't know that your vote's going to count, that the American people get to pick the president and the Congress people and the senator, if you don't know that, you lose America. That's the foundation. And so when they tell you, no, you can't talk about that, I'm here to say you better scream about that. And so that's why we made the film Letter to the American Church. Again, the website is just lettertotheamericanchurch.com. There's a whole list of things there that you can do, including signing church up for a free screening. Obviously, the book, Letter to the American Church, the book, has all the information in it, but the film is so beautiful, so amazing. It's very different from any book. It's not just the film version of my book. It's a beautiful documentary film. I'm just in awe of what they did.
My last question for you is, seeing the response of this film is already a buzz of people talking about anticipating to go watch the documentary. Do you see yourself doing more film work in the future?
There is a film version of my Bonhoeffer book coming out in November. I am crazy excited about that. It is a faithful, beautiful adaptation of the story of Bonhoeffer. It's not officially linked to my book, but that amazes me that film is made. I've seen it. It's brilliant. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I want most of my books to become streaming TV series. I wrote a book about America called If You Can Keep It, The Forgotten Promise of American Liberty. And we're going to be turning that into a streaming TV series. I wrote a book on faith and science, how science proves God. It's next level apologetics that I happen to have discovered. And I put it in a book called Is Atheism Dead? That is something we want to develop as a streaming TV series, because we want to get the truth out. I think a lot of times Christians and conservatives we've been on the sidelines while the kind of crazy Marxist left has gotten its narrative out there, and how there is no God. Guess what? That's not true. How America's bad. Guess what? That's not true. That those narratives have been pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. And we're trying to raise millions of dollars. We will raise millions of dollars, frankly. I know, to get these stories out there to a wider public. So, I hope people will read my books, but I also hope that those who don't read books will at some point be able to see a lot of these things in streaming TV formats.
Be listening on Refocus Radio, talking to our special guest today, Eric Metaxas. Go check out the new film project, Letter to the American Church. Go visit the website, lettertotheamericanchurch.com, to find out more you can do to get engaged. Once again, like always, Eric, thank you for your time.
God bless you. Thank you so much.